Good.
Hi, welcome back to Midlife Unfiltered. I'm Donna. This is my co-host, Nicola.
Welcome, everybody. Today we're sitting down with Russell Van Brocklin. He is the Dyslexia Professor, helping students with dyslexia turn daily reading struggles into confident academic success through practical, research-backed strategies. Welcome, Russell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. We're very
Yes, we're
excited
very
to
excited.
learn everything that you have to offer and to help people out there with your strategies with dyslexia and obviously maybe not dyslexia that, help them with your strategies.
Well, yes, what I have covers anything from basic sentences all the way through doctoral level work for both dyslexics and non-dyslexics.
Wow.
So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about you and what you do and how you got into where you're at?
Well, just so everybody knows, this is the exact last thing I was ever supposed to do with my life.
Okay.
I was supposed to be a bureaucrat for the New York State government. What happened was it was the late 90s. I wanted to know how a law was created, not some class. I wanted to know. So I had this insane idea to sign up for the New York State Assembly internship program. Why it was insane is I showed up and I said, here's my neuropsychological evaluation. I have a first grade reading and writing ability. And they looked at that and said, you can't do the internship, not the way it's designed. So the speaker at the time was Sheldon Silver, a Democrat out of Manhattan, and it went up to his office. And they came back and they said, we don't care what you have to do. You're going to accommodate the living heck out of this kid. And I don't care how much it costs. And so they got a committee together as directed. And they did this really radical thing. A big part of the internship was being with your peers. And I lost all of that pretty much. They pulled me out of the legislative office building, marched me a quarter mile away into the Capitol itself, into the Majority Leaders Program and Council's office, which essentially ran the assembly day to day. And when I walked in, I immediately see why they did it. There were 3 administrative assistants that could help take my horrendous writing and turn it into something that I could turn in each week.
Right.
But they had no idea what to do with an undergrad. Zero. They hadn't had one in 30 years. So they treated me like a graduate student. You're talking the difference between a real policy position and somebody who ran and got coffee and got the donuts. That's the difference. So I had the best internship out of anybody. For the academic portion, instead of the paper, I gave a huge, hours-long presentation with Q&A session. And at the end, they recommended 15 credits of A-. Then it goes back to the political science department at the State University of New York Center at Buffalo. And they didn't like these insane accommodations, so they decided to lower my grades from 15 credits of A- to 15 credits of F.
Oh, no.
Yeah. 29 years later, it's still there. So at that point, I said, I'm done with the discrimination. This is the proverbial Mack truck that broke the proverbial camel's back. And I said, I'm going to go to grad school and figure out how to read and write so I can teach other dyslexics. I just didn't know what grad program to go to. So I went to my professors and I said, where do I go to do this? They said, well, if you like politics and you like law, it's obvious. Law school. Where you read and write more than anybody. So I decided to audit contracts and property. And the second day of contracts, I was called upon. And this is where I began to find out that being dyslexic is freaking unfair, is all dynamite in grad school.
Mm-hmm.
He attacked me, asking me how they use the Socratic method. If you don't know the answers, they ask you questions until that you can't answer to embarrass you publicly until you adjust. Well, that didn't happen to me. He went right after me. I responded exactly correctly. Then I went after him. And we're going back and forth, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He throws up his arm, says, Russell, you can't, in the interest of time, I have to move on to the next case. You couldn't be any more correct. I learned to read within a month. I learned to write within a couple of years. Then I went back to the New York State Senate. And I said, I want you to fund my dyslexia research program. My senator was the majority leader of the state Senate. It took years to get the approval. At the end, I ended up going back to my old high school, the Averill Park Central School District, right outside of Albany, New York, our state capital. And I want everybody to know I focus on students who are like me, highly intelligent, highly motivated. So we took, after doing this for a couple of years outside of school, we got the state funding. It was one class period a day for the school year. The kids were writing at the middle school level. They increased from the middle school level to the average range of entering graduate students, not college, graduate students, the GRE, Graduate Records Exam, Analytical Writing Assessment. They all went on to college, all graduated, GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6. No accommodations. Now, here's the key point. The best dyslexic college at the time was Landmark College. They got infinitely better starting in 2013 with the appointment of a new president. But in the OOs, we were literally 3 times more effective than they were for less than 1% of the cost. They were over 100,000. We were less than $900. And that's how I got started.
Wow. Holy
That
cow.
Wow. So take us back for a second. Like, what happened when, your grammar school, high school years? Like, you must have really struggled, but they kind of just pushed you along, pushed you.
Well, people need to realize is when I got everything looked at, my verbal IQ came out 127, so in about the 96 percentile.
Right.
I was exceedingly good in one class, which was history. I was put in special ed in 3rd grade, forced my way out in 8th grade for history, became the #1 student. I had an 86 average the first semester in high school, 95.5 my 4th quarter, which was 4th in my class. And I just kind of just went through it. I never quit. That was the thing. And I could pass a spelling test with 100, and 2 periods later, I couldn't remember how to spell any of the words. So I just bumbled through the whole thing.
Right.
Until I walked into grad school, for law school. And then when I had to connect my research to current research, it's supposed to take 2 years. I did in under 2 weeks. Being dyslexic in grad school it's an insane advantage. It is completely unfair.
Wow. And so, but why is that? Like, can you explain that a little bit?
We can look at the science. This is the top science in the field.
Uh-huh.
That's dyslexia. See how the back part of your brains have this massive neuroactivity back here?
Yeah.
Dyslectic is next to nothing.
Yep.
But the front part of the brain is about 2.5 times overactive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what our society wants us to do is to become well-rounded before we specialize. We do the same stuff in middle school that we do in high school that we do the first 2 years of college. Dyslexics just want to specialize, and we want to go deep. So even in the last 2 years of college, we don't really get to go that deep. We walk into a grad program, you have to go deep, and can you contribute? Well, we can, because that part of the brain we have 2.5 times overactive, and that deals with word analysis followed by articulation. To give you an example, ever watch a show called Shark Tank?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Dyslexics make up 5 to 10% of the population. If you add ADD and ADHD, it's 15 to 20%, but we're talking about real dyslexia, 5 to 10%. There are 6 sharks. Guess what percentage of them are dyslexic?
75.
50. Barbara, Damien, and the bald guy, Mr. Wonderful. Half.
Okay.
It is a serious unfair advantage once you get out in the real world.
Because you guys are more out of the box thinkers than anything else.
Well, we think completely differently.
Mhm.
I know where I want to get to. I just don't know how I'm going to get there. So the closer I get to my goal, the more firm it comes. Normal person starts out knowing exactly where they are and how they want to go out there. As they step farther and farther out, the more uncertain it gets. It's the complete opposite.
Right. Some of the schools don't really know how to handle dyslexia. They're just kind of putting like a patch on top of it to get the kids through.
Okay. Well, let's go back. Let me answer that by giving it to your experience. How far did you guys go in your education?
I graduated college.
Okay. So I want you to think back to any point in your education. If you did 2 things. Number 1, you put out a proper study schedule. And number 2, you worked really hard. Then you did anywhere from well to freaking amazing. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. So you're doing back here. This is what schools are designed for.
Yep.
Okay. So let me answer that question by giving you the model of what dyslexia is and how it relates. So this is going to be kind of a little longer answer than you're looking for, but I'm going to explain the entire model.
Sure.
So I'm going to start off by debunking one of the biggest myths out there that dyslexia is a reading problem. It's a symptom, like a cold. A stuffy nose is a symptom, the real problem's in your chest. So the student I'm going to mention, her name is Casey. She came from a lower middle class family in the Midwestern United States, and I never saw anybody like Casey before. I will never see it again. Of the hundreds of teachers I taught, they'll never see this. It's a one-off edge case to make a point. Casey was 10 years old at the end of 5th grade, reading and writing at the 2nd grade level. She turned 11 over the summertime. She was interested in Theodore Roosevelt. So I assigned her the most insane book I could find, The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt. 900 pages of it. This is Pulitzer Prize, one that is material, one that 10th grade to first year college level depending on who you ask. Casey wanted to do reading first, so I gave her a very simple process. She went up to her. Nobody suggested this. This is Casey. Went up to her room, shut the door for 3 hours a night for the next 6 months, every night. Most of the day during the summertime, 8-10 hours a day. At the end of that time, you could flip to this random page, point to that random word, and she'll tell you the exact dictionary definition. Her grade level jumped 8 grade levels in 6 months, and I worked with her for 15 minutes a week.
Wow.
And that's not the point. The point is, if you want to know the difference between gen ed and dyslexics, when we moved over, I gave her a book that she freaking hated. And I asked her, when we went from something you loved to something you hated, what happened to your motivation? She said it dropped about 50. Most motivated kid I ever worked with. Most dyslexic and ADD kids will tell you they'll drop between 75 and 90%.
Agree.
Your intervention will fail for the very reason that you're outside their speciality. And virtually everything the schools do are outside that speciality. Why? For 80+% of their population, the general to the specific, dealing with teaching us to become well-rounded works beautifully. You are 2 examples of this. The system worked in your case. All people have to do is, as long as you have the intellectual capacity, is do those 2 things and you'll get through college just fine.
Right.
But for the dyslexic and the ADHD, the motivation's down to next to 0 and they won't do anything. Now, here's the other issue. If I were to ask either of you 2 to just go and do this project, you have access to a university research library, you have 2 weeks, the output is a high school level paper. What effect did Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech have on the American Civil Rights Movement of the 1960s? You could just go and write that paper right now, correct? Yeah. Big picture. Going down to details. The dyslexic, it's like grabbing fog. There's nothing to grab onto. We have to flip that script and ask a very specific question and then slowly go out. What personally compelled Martin Luther King to want to give his famous speech? Now we know what to do. We go to his biography, read about that period of time, we'll find the answer. That answer will give us a question, which will give us an answer, which will give us a question, which will give us an answer.
Right.
That forced the dyslexic brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. Why is that so important? Because if I ask any dyslexic or ADD or ADHD kid, in your speciality, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed but with little to no organization? They're going to say yes. So we have to force the dyslexic brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. We don't do big picture to details. We flip it, specific question, going outward, question, answer, question, answer. So what's happening in the school system? Oh, and then finally, we go to the front part of the brain and we do word analysis followed by articulation. I'll explain that in a minute. But the schools, why is this such a freaking failure? Why do parents have to close the gap? Because it's very simple. They will not do the specific to the general. They will not focus just on the kid's speciality. And therefore, they say, we will accommodate the kids. Well, let me show you what a farce that is. I need to use one of you as my victim. And what it is, which one of you is going to be my victim?
Do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Nicole. I want you to tell me a sport that you just freaking suck at. For me, it's basketball.
Football.
Football, okay. So I want you to imagine you were going to get the best football coach in the world for the next 6 months. You were going to practice 8 hours a day for the next 6 days a week for the next 6 months. We got you the best football equipment money can buy. And then we're going to have your competition be a woman of your age who, let's just say, played football at the Division I level. It's going to be imaginary because of that. All right. And we're going to give her equipment, used Walmart equipment that belongs in the dumpster. Okay. And you're going to compete head to head. Is it going to does all that training and equipment make any difference?
No, probably not, right?
No.
Because you didn't have any interest.
No. It's just because your body is not designed to play football.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could get all the practice in the world, go up against some D1 guy who played, college, somebody my age, and you still wipe the floor with me. Okay. The thing is, our brains are so radically different. These accommodations just don't work. So what we have to do is we have to solve the problem. And what teachers have told me is that we need to have kids who can do, first of all, the biggest problem I run into is the kids are writing a bunch of randomly placed misspelled words. Nobody knows how to fix this. Does that problem sound familiar to either of you?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to think of a dyslexic kid who's in elementary, middle, or high school who's writing a bunch of randomly placed misspelled words, and nobody knows how to fix it. We need to come up with a fake name for the kid to protect their ID. What's the fake name?
Sean.
What's that?
Sean.
Sean?
Yeah.
Okay. So for Sean, tell me about Sean.
Sean is in elementary school. He just moved to a new school. He can't write to save his life. He can speak very well, very articulate, but putting it on paper, you cannot understand. You can't put the two together. I'm trying to explain something to him. You have to find multiple different ways to explain to him to get him to understand it, to be able to do what he wants to do.
Okay. How old is Sean, and what's his speciality, his area of extreme interest and ability?
Let's say he's 9, 8, 9.
Okay. And apparently you think fixing this is difficult. It's actually really simple. Do you want me to just tell you how to do it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was his speciality again?
We
I
didn't
didn't
say. We didn't say.
Sorry.
I don't know. Pick one, Donna. I don't know.
He likes to play baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball.
Baseball.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you this weird idea. We're going to follow the science. So
Okay.
Sean's been trying to be taught back here. Now with you guys, it worked great. Look at all that brain activity. He's got essentially next to nothing going on back here. So how do you get him to do things with nothing? We're going to use the front part of the brain right here.
Okay.
See? And Yale even told us what this is. It's word analysis followed by articulation. So I'm going to tell you exactly how to fix this. And just remember, most parents do 10 to 15 minute sessions. All right. First thing we're going to do with Sean is you're going to take, all those pens and pencils and paper you've been working with?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to literally throw those in the trash. I never want him to pick up a pen or pencil again.
Okay.
Because remember I told you that original testing I did with the super kids in high school?
Yes.
When we gave them from typing to handwriting, it was graded by a New York State distinguished professor of psychology. When they went to handwriting, they went from the 70th percentile to the 6th percentile.
Wow. Okay.
So
Because I want you to imagine the working memory, writing you compared to just hitting a key, that becomes muscle memory. This will crash the system. It has to type. Not on an iPad, not on an iPhone, but on a laptop computer with a real keyboard.
Right.
Some people can use a desktop with a real keyboard. Mostly it's laptops. And if price is concerned, get a netbook. All right. It works just fine.
Doesn't like crossing the mean of your body also has to do with the function in your brain?
I keep this really simple. It's typing.
Okay.
I've been asked to go into those deep questions. I continue to refine my process. I leave that to other professors.
Okay.
Got it.
So what we do is first thing we're going to have Sean do is we're going to, first of all, let me tell you how to do it. You're going to type out hero +, what are we talking about? Then Sean's going to copy it until it's perfect. And I get this from parents all the time, but we're told copying's not allowed. Professor James Collins, Strategies for Struggling Writers, $1.5 million grant from the U.S. Education Department. The result is his 3 default strategies are copying, visualization, and narrative. So copying's fine. By the way, he was the guy who approved my academic work. So Sean's going to copy that until it's perfect. Remember, the whole point is it's not about getting stuff done. It's about getting it done where it's actually correct. And the amount of repetition is extraordinary. That's what you have to understand. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to swap out hero for Sean's name. So now we got Sean +, what are we talking about? Then we're going to go to a list of 10 things Sean really, really likes, and then 10 things he really, really dislikes. And the first thing what he really, really likes is baseball. So we got Sean +, what are we talking about? They're going to swap out what are we talking about for baseball? We got Sean + baseball. Okay. Now I need to pick on one of you to go through the next part to create a 3-word sentence. I just want to let you know ahead of time. I ask these questions to 7-year-olds. They're the simplest questions you'll ever be asked. They're not trick questions. If you answer them exactly, this works. If not, you're going to get incredibly confused. And then when I show you what it is, you'll have an epiphany. All right. And what dyslexia really is. So who am I going to pick on?
All
Donna,
right,
you
go
can
ahead.
go.
That's fine.
Okay, Donna. So here we go. We got Sean +, baseball. Now we got to swap out that + for a word.
Okay.
We have to do this exactly or it doesn't work. Here's my question. Does Sean like or dislike baseball?
He likes it.
Well, go ahead and give me the 3-word sentence.
Sean likes baseball.
Yes, but that's not what I asked.
You said 3 words, sentence, 3 words.
Yep. Let's try it again. We got to be exactly correct.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
We got Sean +sign baseball. We got to swap out the +sign for a word. Here are your 2 choices. Does Sean like or dislike baseball?
Sean likes baseball. So you're telling me
but that's not. But that's not what I asked.
Okay.
Do I have you confused?
Yes.
Do you not like being confused?
No, I don't like being confused.
You're a full-grown woman. Imagine being like this all the time at age 8.
No.
That's Sean. Are you ready for your epiphany?
Yes, tell me.
Okay, I asked if Sean like or dislike baseball.
Right.
You did what almost every educated person did. You automatically added the S to make it a proper sentence. So what you did is you decided to use this back part of your brain.
Okay.
Sean's got nothing going on back here. He doesn't know how to add the S.
Okay. So it's literal.
Okay.
He's more literal.
Literally, you are asking Sean to do something with nothing.
Right.
Okay. I mean, literally, it's like I want you to imagine the stereotypical geeky kid with 160 IQ that's 5'10" and weighs 100 pounds. And you have something like that's very heavy to lift. You can get the football player center to come out and just lift it because he's 6'5" and 300 pounds. And the 100-pound kid can't even budget. His body was not designed to move heavy stuff. Sean's brain does not work back here. There's nothing going on, essentially. Yours is working. So now we have to, how do we add the S?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what happens if you're rich. This is right from our public records. I'm giving away nothing private. His name is Senator Hoylman Segal. He's a Rhodes Scholar, Harvard Law grad. His daughter Sylvia was in a spelling bee competition in 4th grade, and he found out she was dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
He came from money. So his family has money. So she sent her to the Windward Academy in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, which took her from, I think, about 5th grade to the end of 8th. She's everything's corrected. She went off to high school, did great.
Okay.
$75,000, 4 to 5 years. Okay. Because the student to teacher ratio is 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. They have a 98% success rate. You guys have an extra $500,000 sitting around to fix this? No. So what we have to use is modern science. So what we have to do is we have to move to the front part of the brain because it has 2.5 times the neuroactivity. Right. That starts off with word analysis. So how do we apply word analysis to fix this? What we do is I would ask Sean to read what he wrote out loud. Sean like baseball. And then I would ask Sean, does that sound generally correct? And he's going to say no. I'm assuming he speaks proper English. It works for the vast majority of kids. And then I say, Sean, fix it. Sean likes baseball. Then we practice that for the other 9 likes and 10 dislikes until he has it down.
The muscle memory. Yeah.
Now, do you see how that's a simple form of word analysis? Then we can go on and we have to do articulation. So give me a simple reason of why Sean likes baseball.
It's fun.
Sean likes baseball because it's fun.
Right.
Now, typically, how do we get rid of the major grammar problems? I'm going to make it a little more complicated. Sean likes baseball because he likes being with his friends. Okay. Now we got a heck of a lot of grammar issues. We have Sean read it out loud. Does it sound generally correct until the whole thing sounds generally correct? Might take 2 to 6 times generally. Now we got that, but now we got the spelling. And people think this is so hard. It's not. Once the grammar sounds generally correct, remember this is not perfect. Now we're left with little mistakes and medium mistakes, which teachers are perfectly well trained to deal with. Mm-hmm. As parents, your job is to get them so their gen ed kit can work with your kid. But now the spelling is still a mess. Here's how we fix it. We tell Sean to drop the period and retype it. And if there's any mistakes, he has to retype it again until it's correct. And he's going to say, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And he does for about 3 to 13 times. He will start getting annoyed with himself, concentrate deeper and deeper and deeper. That deep concentration is where this is fixed. All right. Then he gets it correct. And we do that for the other 9 likes and 10 dislikes. Then we keep exactly that. He's going to retype exactly that. And we're going to add a second reason by connecting it with a glue word and. And we're going to do that until everything's correct for the 10 likes and 10 dislikes. Then we're going to add a third reason for the 10 likes and 10 dislikes. For a 9-year-old, I know exactly how long this takes. Parents do 10 to 15 minute sessions 2 to 4 times a week, sometimes not at all. It takes about 5 months. And parents are like, it takes 5 months? I said, yes. But remember what my competition is. It's people who take a bachelor's degree, 2 additional years, become certified in Orton Gillingham at a cost of $11,000 to a non-for-profit. And then it's 4 to 5 years full time with a student to teacher ratio of 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. What we're doing is parents who have none of that take what I just showed you and do a 10 to 15 minute sessions 2 to 4 times a week, some weeks not at all. What I can tell you is at 13, that'll take weeks to maybe a month or so. And at 18, probably within a week or 2. The older you are, the quicker you pick it up.
Wow.
The exact opposite of Orton Gillingham. And at the end, their reading has also improved because here's a little secret. If you can write it, you can read it. If you can write it, you can read it.
Why
kind
are
of
you
a long
saying-
answer to your question. I'm sorry.
Why are you
No,
saying
you're
the
fine.
opposite of Orton Gillingham? Why isn't Orton Gillingham supposed to teach the teachers the techniques to teach the children?
Well, I'm just going to tell you, Dr. Orton was the everything in my field. The first school that started using his approach, the Orton Gall approach, is celebrating its 100th anniversary.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, our school district
Okay,
uses
the
it.
Gowell School, GOW. And if you send your kid to the Gowell School, you will be so happy with what you get back because they are really good at instilling values and hard work. They are really, really good. They've been doing it for a century. But if you get the scholarship, the cost of attending is about $60,000. Okay, and again, it's because it's that expensive.
Yeah.
They're not. These teachers are not making much money compared to New York State public school teachers. Their total compensation is horrible.
Right.
It's because again that student to teacher is so small. And Dr. Orton passed away in the late 40s. His partner Gillingham passed away in the 50s, and it's made some changes, but not a lot. What you would expect from the 50s. This came out in 2003. Dr. Orton didn't know about this stuff. So
Right.
when I looked at it, you can just see if this common sense makes any sense to you. This is a normal brain, major neural activity back here. Dyslectic, next to nothing, 2.5 times up here. I figure, I got 2.5 times the horsepower. Let's use that.
Right.
That was my idea. And when I tried it on the super kids, I could throw anything in the world at them. But when I presented this in 2006, I got 2 responses. The professor said, some of your kids scored in the 70th percentile of entering grad students from middle school. We don't care. We want the craft of research. I was like, what's the craft of research? It's a book that came out in 1995 from the University of Chicago. I'm joking. It teaches PhD students how to write their freaking doctoral dissertation in 3 steps. Context, get everybody on the same page. Then a unique problem statement where if you answer it, you're going to move the field forward, and then a real solution. And I said, no private school in the country deals with this. And I said, you want me to teach this to high school dyslexic kids? And they said, yes. That was step 1. Step 2, the original program, the teacher said, well, that's a miracle. Does it work with normal kids? I said, no, it doesn't. Come back when it does. I came back 8 years later. And what I found is I started off with the grad students on articulation first and very little word analysis. To work with normal kids, I had to do word analysis followed by articulation. But to get them to do anything, I had to find out what their speciality was. And I had to ask the question, in your speciality, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed, but with little to no organization? They
Right.
said yes. So then what we had to do was, what I found when I talked to senior professors is they didn't like big picture to details. They like specific details going out. So I had to create those first 2 steps to get them to do anything. That took 8 years to figure out.
My gosh.
Foresight.
So I have a question for you. I know that they can diagnose dyslexia in smaller children, probably, maybe 4 or 5, where they get into elementary school. And a lot of parents out there can't afford to send their child to, a private school where they can get the top-notch help. What would you suggest to them to help their child? So, because I know it can be very overwhelming for a parent thinking, oh my gosh, my child has this, and it can bring up a lot of emotions, thinking, what did it come from me? Did I do something wrong? What would you tell them how can they help their child if they can't afford to put their child in a top-notch place to get the help?
Well, we've known the answer to that question back when you were in grade school. When you were a
Okay.
schoolgirl, we knew the answer. Here's what parents need to do. They need to Google Yale and dyslexia.
Okay.
And then what you do, this is, let's say the kid's in 4 or 5 years old. You
Uh-huh.
just contact them and say, how does a school test my kid for dyslexia in kindergarten?
Right.
Well, they will tell you it runs about $50 a kid. The teacher
Okay.
can do it. It's extremely accurate. And then once you find out they're dyslexic, then you go back to Yale. How do we fix this? The key
Uh-huh.
thing in the American educational system is K-3, we learn to read. 4th and above, we read to learn. So then they have programs that have been around since you were schoolgirls. This is not new information. That'll tell you that schools exactly how to teach them, how to get them there by the end of 3rd grade. And there's a lot of options. There's more options than when you were schoolgirls. Okay. And these are all federally funded. They're out there that they will tell you how to do it. Now, if the schools decide not to do that, and virtually none of them do, parents have 2 options. Well, actually 3. They can sue the school because what happens is they fail the 3rd grade reading and writing test.
Okay.
Then what they can do is they can then go and look at, say, how do we get this fixed? Well, New York State tried to answer that question. You can Google New York State Dyslexia Task Force, New York State Education Department. They had the 49 top people in the state of dyslexia to figure out how to do this with modern technology. We spend more per kid than anybody else in the country.
Really?
Nobody, and we can't afford the solution. We can't afford it. It's hiring untold thousands of more teachers. So then what your next option is, realizing that current options will not work. The New York State has already figured that out. It's too late for your kid once they fail that test. If they pass it, just, by the way, they're going to generally be okay. When they fail it, your next option is to sue the school in federal court. This is federal law, not state. How this works is federal judge would essentially ask, did you do essentially the Yale thing? And they say no. The judge says the school district was grossly negligent, and they order the school district to pay to have your kid go to one of these private schools, which normally means, what state are you guys in?
I'm in Maryland. She's in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Okay. Well, New Jersey, they might be close enough for a long bus ride. Maryland, that's the home of the international. Then maybe close enough for a long bus ride, or you'd have to send them to a boarding school. I can tell you in Massachusetts, there's 2, and kids go on hours bus rides each way. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're there for 4 to 5 years. And not only if you win, not only do they have to pay all this, then they also have to pay the $500,000 attorney bill.
Yep.
Okay?
I believe there's one in New York State also.
Well, there's a whole bunch. There's a bunch in New York State.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying, and it's concentrated in in the Maryland up through New England, New York State. There's a lot of them in that. That's where it's clustered.
Right.
But a lot of parents, even if you win, don't want their kids on the school bus for hours each way or to go to boarding school.
Sure.
The third option is I can just show you how to fix it yourself. I just showed you how to do the basic sentences. The next thing I normally discuss, if you would like, I can show you how to do the advanced body paragraph. A good chunk of it.
Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, what if I told you I can teach you in this process for both of you to become better writers?
Sure.
Like that.
Okay. Now, just so everybody knows, how did generally in college, when it came to your term papers, what grades were you guys generally getting?
Me, probably in the B range.
Yeah.
Okay.
B.
I'm not a great writer.
No. B means good. Okay. No, with people, I had really hard professors. A was exceptional. There are a few people, and that's it. B meant good. C meant average.
Right.
Okay. So you did a good job. Here's how I'm going to show you how to improve. Now, I just want to let you know in our private courses, we have courses that we teach parents to show kids how to do a basic body paragraph after the sentences. Here's a big chunk of the advanced body paragraph. I'm just assuming the kids can write a basic body paragraph now. Best way I found out how to explain this is through a universal theme. And the most effective way I found out was a movie review. So I need to pick one of you to be my victim. Who's that going to be?
I'll do it.
Okay. I need you to tell me a movie that meets 3 criteria. It's one of the best of all times, in your opinion. Number 2, you know it intimately. Number 3, everybody's seen it. What's the name of that?
Grease.
Grease. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you the hard question. I need you to reduce to a 1-word universal theme the movie of Grease that best reflects that movie in your unique point of view?
Entertaining.
Entertaining. Okay. Now, if I went down to your local school district and took the top dyslexic senior, how long would it take them to do the same thing?
A while.
No, instantaneous.
Because you're only asking for one word.
I asked for, we're doing word analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go back to the science. They got 2.5 times the neuroactivity that you do.
That's right.
You're now playing in my sandbox. Okay. There are advantages to being dyslexic. Now that we have our universal thing, then what we would do is we would ask, how did the actors do with it? How did the director do? How did the screenwriter do? Here's the problem. Entertaining is broad brush. We need to get much more specific. Advanced academic writing is very specific, not general. So then I had, how do we fix this? So I needed a framework. So I went to a lot of top full professors at major research universities, and I said, who was the best person in English language history to communicate writing, ideas through writing? And they all said one name, Shakespeare. So just briefly, I'm going to torture part of your audience because we're going to briefly go back to high school English. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So
All right.
I want you to think about any Shakespeare play you ever read. You would have a hero. The hero would want to do something based on one or more universal themes. Then there'd be an ultimate villain who would be a character with some concepts, with some universal themes that would try to prevent the hero from accomplishing their goal. They would meet in conflict in Act 1, go crazily high in Act 2, resolve in Act 3. Sound familiar?
Yep.
So we're going to simplify that process. Just so everybody knows, no more Shakespeare. You're safe. So we're going to, and remember, we're going to assume the kid can write a basic body paragraph. So let's go back to the Grease, what you really liked. Let's assume that kid loved that movie Grease. I'm going to now show you how to write this at the middle school level. That would also work for the high school and at college. All right. First thing we're going to do is have the kid pick out a character. I would try to recommend a character that's not one of the main ones because everybody's written on that, but one of the more minor characters that had an important but smaller part, whatever the character they picked. I'm going to have the kid type out 5 to 20 paragraphs on what the hero wants to do.
Okay.
Remember, they can do a basic body paragraph.
And what the hero wants to do, is that what you said?
Yes, what the hero wants to do.
Okay.
And then, because then they have to keep going back to the script to find out what the hero wants to do to come up with enough content.
Right.
And I'm not talking about some BS content. I'm talking about good content. Remember how slow this goes. Anytime I teach anything new to one of my kids, it takes forever. And then we get it faster and faster until it's like tying your shoe.
Right.
Okay. So then we have them do that. Then for each of, because here's the other little secret, we're going to solve most of their reading problems doing this as well. So the next thing we're going to do is they're going to go through each sentence of those 5 to 20 paragraphs and pick out the most important word. Then they're going to type out the most important word. Then they're going to go to Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, pick their definition, and then type out the definition. Now, this is for your parents. I don't care if your kid's an Eagle Scout, which I got when I was 17. All right. There is no trust here because I can tell you what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to copy and paste, which is going to make this whole thing worthless. They have to type out the word and type out the definition for each one of those. Then they're going to pick the one that they think is the best one. That one is going to be like your word entertainment, very broad. We have to make it much more specific. So then we go to the thesaurus. And parents tend to do 5 words, 10 words, the entire level, multiple levels. Parents normally start off with 5 or 10, typically 5, then they eventually go to 10. Of the synonyms, the kid is then going to type out each word, go to the Merriam-Webster's online dictionary, pick out their definition and type it out. And you have to look over their shoulder to make sure they're not copying and pasting. And this is where parents ask, what's with all the freaking typing? I can tell you what the answer is. We got to teach these kids to read, which is a nightmare, but we're not going to. We're going to teach them how to write. Now, once they type out the word and the definition, here's what I'm going to go back to the science. This is the front part of the brain. First thing it deals with is word analysis. This is my entire system. Here's my question. How can you apply word analysis if you don't know exactly what the word means?
Well, that's why you're typing out all the definitions.
Right. You can't. So you type out the definitions until the point where the kid has memorized through sheer repetition what that is. And they're going to go, they're going to go, mom or dad, just, most of the time through K through 12, it's 90% a mom thing. Mom, I got this. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to be cruel on purpose. You're going to want to look at what they type, look what the definition is. If it's essentially the same thing, they're done. If there's any doubt, keep typing.
Right.
Okay.
Eventually, over the course of 12 to 18 months, they're going to get that down. And their vocabulary is going to expand to hundreds and hundreds of evolved words. This is exactly similar to what Casey did with this book. She did every word in this book. Okay. That's why it took so long.
Mhm.
As that happens, as you build up a word of, let's say, 500 evolved words over 18 months, here's what happens. My kids generally do this at the earliest at 11 or 12. When they're 16 or 17 taking the SATs, the verbal section is a vocabulary test. They don't need to remember all these advanced words. They did it in elementary and middle school. And they remember 70 to 80% of the definition. You expand it to hundreds of evolved words. And before you know it, when you go to teach them to read books like this, they can essentially read the vast majority of it.
Okay.
There's some cleanup, but you've done most of the work. Okay. So then they're going, let's say you did 5 or 10. You're going to find the word that best represents what's in their head. Now, this isn't perfect. You want the word that best represents what's in their head. It's not perfect, but it's much closer. We can then use that as our final universal theme as a lens to pick the ultimate villain. I start off with a person, a character, and when we get more advanced, because I do this with PhD students, I eventually move on to concepts. Okay? So now we have our hero, our universal theme, and our villain. We turn that into a basic sentence. Do you see how that's an advanced form of word analysis?
Yes.
No, don't worry. Articulation's much faster. We're almost done. Then we come up with 3 really good reasons. Each reason we put into a simple turn into a simple universal theme. And then we go to the script of Greece. We find an exact sentence that deals exactly with that universal theme at the beginning of the movie and one at the end. We take those 2 sentences and put them together. That's our data. From our data, those 2 sentences, those 2 quotes, we form a topic sentence. Now, have you ever noticed in college when you had your topic sentence and your data, the data being statistics, quotes, whatever, have you noticed that going from your topic sentence to your data, it didn't flow very well?
Yes.
Yeah.
All the time.
Have you ever?
That was my biggest
All the
problem.
time. All the time. Like my kids, my younger kids, I'm like, did you read this? And they're like, no, but go back, do it again. And then they'd be like, yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Well, you have the 2 quotes, you know they read it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. But the flow in the craft of research, they have a very specific solution for this.
Right.
Remember, they sold over 1 million copies over the past 31 years. Have you ever thought about applying a warrant to a body paragraph?
Explain.
If you're anybody outside of a PhD candidate has no idea what this is,
Yeah.
even master's people, a warrant connects your topic sentence to your data by answering a how question and a why question. So how I teach it is I'll have 1 sentence on how, 1 on why, and then as they practice it, I'll turn it into 1 sentence. Once they're skilled enough to turn it into 1 sentence, now you have the topic sentence, the answer to how and why, and then the quotes. It flows much better. And that's the basics of how to do an advanced body paragraph.
Wow.
Wow.
So in under 15 minutes, I've showed you how to do the sentences in most of an advanced body paragraph.
I love this because a lot of stuff that you said, when my younger son, he's not dyslexic, but I helped out when he was in kindergarten in his class, and we would do the little sight words for the little kids, and they
don't ever do sight words. Don't ever do sight words with anybody.
That's what they do, not me. So there was this little child, and I don't know anything. I just, tell them to come out. And I noticed that this one particular child was struggling and I couldn't figure out why. So I just came up with like different techniques on how to get this child to know what the word was. Sometimes it would, yes, we'd get it 2 minutes later or whatever it was. Completely forget what the word was. And it's been obviously years since I've done it, but I just was like, okay. And we kind of and I could see that they were getting frustrated and they were struggling. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. We've got this. And I just continually worked like 3 days a week with this particular child. And one day, a specialist who they always brought into the school for children who had IEPs, she came up to me and she's like, do you work with so-and-so? And I said, yeah. And she said, can I ask what you're doing with the sight words and the reading? And I just was like, I'm just coming up with ways. I'm like, he doesn't understand the word over. And I'd be like, and I would just do different hand things, or I would tell funny stories. Whatever I was doing was working in his little brain, because apparently that child was dyslexic and I was not told that. But whatever I was doing was working. And she just said, whatever. So she asked me. So I told her, she's like, just keep doing what you're doing, please. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, okay. But I had no idea that this child was dyslexic because that's not for me to obviously know what that child.
Yeah, they're very close. But just so all parents out there know, don't ever do sight words. It's the most ridiculous thing I've seen in education. Doing the word analysis followed by articulation.
Yeah.
I have gen ed kids go through that. By the way, they fly through it, but they understand it much better. And as people ask, does my stuff work for normal kids? Let me give you an example. I'm going to let you know that Grayson's on the young side.
Okay.
He is not dyslexic in the least. He's in the 99th percentile for math, 99th percentile in science. He's a super kid. I'm not joking. Grayson wants to get his PhD to work at NASA to terraform Mars.
Wow.
Okay. So I take peer-reviewed articles that, PhD level, and I drop them to 12th grade reading, third-year college content. Okay. And Grayson's father's showing him how to do the advanced paragraphs now. I'm going to take him through doing a proper problem statement. The head of Google AI a couple months ago on a podcast said they can't teach their people how to do problem statements. They can't take the craft of research and apply it. They got all the money in the world. They got the smartest people in the world. Problem is, top down, I do word analysis followed by articulation from the bottom up, and there's a way of connecting to make the problem statement work. When we're done with a proper problem statement, we'll send Grayson off to a senior professor, and that should get him to connect with him so he can go and work on his article and get published so he can go work at NASA. How old do you think Grayson is?
I'm going to say 14.
He's 10.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
So when people, and then we've moved on. Yes, I tend to focus the kids I work with personally to work with their parents for test cases are really smart kids. And Alfred is another one. He's a 12-year-old super STEM kid. Okay. And he was on Hawks' Hummingbirds, and then he just wanted something on Kimono Dragons, which I did for a 12-year-old, which I did at the 12th grade level.
Mhm.
Another set of twins, the mom was a teacher, then a principal. One wanted Galileo telescopes in the Galileo era. So that was custom created for him. That was 9th grade reading, 8th grade context. And his twin brother, wanted how tsunamis cause tidal waves.
Okay.
All that is custom. We for more and more, we're leaving books and creating custom material that can be adjusted at the kid. And they absolutely love it. They don't want to go back to normal stuff. And those kids are so advanced. They start off a year. They already know what they're supposed to know at the end of the year. And the teachers just send them over to work at the computers because they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
They don't need to teach them anything.
Yeah.
All right. So this does work for everybody.
Wow. It's amazing. And the way you have described it all has just been so eye-opening, because we can talk about dyslexia or say that we understand it or whatever, but the way you've described it just has really, really, opened my eyes to, basically what people are dealing with.
Yeah.
Or just
I mean,
an example, or just a real quick example of just what happened in reality. I'm coming out with a book in 6 months called If You Write, You Can Read. It's about Kimberly. I met Kimberly December 27th of 2024. Kimberly is a homeschooling mom with just a couple college classes, nothing even close to an associate's. She has 5 kids, had the state of Ohio, spent $700 to assess them. Her 5 gen ed kids are reading brilliantly with standard methods. Her 10-year-old son, Reed, was reading at the 11th percentile, writing at the 5th. I worked with her for half an hour a week for 8 months. She worked with him for an hour and a half a week for 8 months, 3 half-hour sessions. Most parents do 10 to 15 minutes. Over the summer of 25, his friend said, we want you in public school to be with us socially. So in last August, beginning in the middle of the month, he was tested in a public school. If Kimberly doubled or tripled where he would still have been in place in special ed, he would have left. His purpose of being in school is to be with his friends in class.
Right.
Didn't happen. His reading went from the 11th percentile to the 64th. His writing went from the 5th percentile to the 65th. What happened? Kimberly just wrote back last week. They got everything back. He got mainly A's and B's. His English was a C+. She solved in under 9 months what the private schools take years to do.
Wow. Just this technique of, working with him.
And she brought Reed through the basic body paragraph. She has she hasn't even looked at the advanced body paragraph. She was going to have him do it over the school year. But Reed said, Mom, I got homework. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be with my friends. She just let it go. She was happy. She's going to start doing some of it over the summertime, over his objections.
I
Wow.
I don't know the curriculum that the county that I'm in uses, but I remember when, and I'm allowed to say this, when my neighbor, she moved in, their kids were in a just, I think like a Catholic private school or something like that. And she had said her son was dyslexic and she was really concerned about putting him in public school. She's like, are they going to be able to help him? What are they going to do? Is he going to fail? She had all the normal questions, and she's a very intelligent person. She's got a lot of degrees and whatnot. And I told us like, oh, the school's really great. I'm telling you now, they're going to bring people in to help him because my own son had one of my boys had an IEP. And like this woman you were just talking about, within 6 months, he went from being here to up here. And she's like, I am shocked that they were able to do this. He's now in middle school and he has all A's and B's. He's on the honor rolls. He's gotten presidential awards. And every day when I see him, like I remember when he first came in, words were being written correctly, and I was like, "That's okay." I'm like, "We've got you. You were close. Like you tried." I always encourage. I never like, "Oh my gosh," we're always encouraging. But yeah, I have to find out what curriculum they use because she herself was just shocked. I mean, yes, she obviously worked with her son and helped him, but just whatever they did, put him from here to here, and he's very intelligently smart, and obviously, he's always going to be dyslexic, but he knows how to, handle and do what he needs to do to make him.
Is some offshoot of Orton Gillingham,
Okay.
probably Wilson reading or Barton reading, but I can tell you exactly what happened. It wasn't the curriculum.
Okay.
If you were to get that kid tested IQ wise,
Mm-hmm.
he's almost certainly Mensa.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you have kids with 130 plus IQ,
Yeah.
or with 131, whatever the cutoff is for the top 2%, with a little proper instruction, yeah, and those kids are very rare.
Yeah, he's very intelligent. He comes over and my husband will be teaching my older kids like math because they're in high school. And he'll just sit there and listen. We don't ask him, hey, do you want to stay and listen? He just pops himself on the couch. And he's just like, so you're saying if I do this to this to this? And we're like, my husband's like, yes. And so now his dad's like, so now that you've made my son smart, can he come over when the time comes to learn math? And my husband's like, yeah, you can send him over.
Well, yeah. So if you're looking at that, as I said, you get a copy of The Craft of Research.
Okay.
And that's what we train parents to take their kids through. That's exactly what Grayson's doing right now.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So what you're going to find even is, because here's a little hint that parents don't know about. I was just listening to a Stanford economist, and they said their early bird warning has already said that 16% of recent college grads' jobs are gone. And they're going to become very much like I want you to imagine a law firm. A lot of stuff on the bottom and eventually goes up to the equity partners. Now, the top part that's like a pyramid, the bottom part's going to be like a pyramid.
Okay.
So what is going on, and everybody needs to just understand what just happened that changes everything. Fable 5, the supermodel, is now in a $200 a month maximum plan. Okay. So what I have done with that, now that I have it permanently, it's actually running right now. I work with it to follow generally what this Stanford professor said. He said, number one, you have to figure out what the problem is. That's the unique problem statements. You have to be able to do that. If you can't do that, you're not really going to be employable future with the AI. Number two, you have to go and do the task. Well, that's what the AI is really good for. The final thing is the evaluation. You have to be really good in what you do, and you need two things. Number one, in your gut, you have to know what good looks like. And number two, when it's not, how do I fix it? Okay. So these steps that I'm showing you, you have to drop the craft of research from grad school I've dropped it down to middle school, and I have these kids practice it. And what that allows them to do is when they get out and they have to go into the real world, even the ones that hated AI, I'd have them contact me because the boss requires them to use it. I'd say, okay, go ahead and do, it's context problem statement, unique problem statement solution. I'd send them back to do each one. I'd just say, talk to it, figure it out. They hate it, but within weeks, they're showing their peers how to do it.
Nice.
Now where we are is a couple of weeks ago, I'd be working all day like crazy, like anybody working with AI. The moment that ChatGPT came out at $200 a month in December 24, I bought it that day. All right. Now I give Fable 5, I define what the unique problem statement is. I actually found a way to have one of the other models help. I say what I think it is. I work with it to come up with it. Then I say, turn your research mode on, give me a 7,000 word report. Then I have Fable 5 come up with a plan, have it evaluated. Sonic 5, the cheap model, does the actual work. And then I have it evaluated by senior humans. Okay. And then we go back and forth. And we are now in the evaluation, coming up with a question in the evaluation role. And it's handing out a really good first draft until it's done. So the key thing is the skills that I'm talking about here are at what craft of research came up with in 95 is what you need to do to be effective in the 2020s.
Yeah.
And if you just go through, I've seen kids only 60% of kids now out of college are getting jobs that require a college degree. And it's going to get a lot worse.
Yes, that's what my husband says too. He says it's going to get a lot worse. He goes, all of these, because I have 2 in college, and he just says, there's tomorrow is not guaranteed. He goes, there's kids coming out of college that have degrees and they're not getting jobs in their degrees. They're not, because AI is taking over, as he said, and other things. And so he's told them, like, whatever you choose, just think of the long term.
No, here's exactly how you fix it. All right, we've met on Podmatch. I've done over 300 shows in the last 16 months. Okay. What you need to do is to tell your kids, first of all, what are their majors in right now?
One wants to biology. She wants to be a dentist. And then the other one is math and economics.
Okay. So what I would tell your daughter who wants to become a dentist, because my roommate was a dentist. You want to go to a state school, not private. Okay. Let her go get into the dentist program. Then what she does is she gets out, she works at one with a guy who wants to retire in 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
And she slowly takes over the business, and she's going to be really poor until she gets out of school.
Yep.
Okay. That's just the key point. Now, if your daughter wants to go for economics and math, I will tell you quite frankly, because I have a degree in economics. It's my first one. An undergraduate degree is now essentially useless.
Okay.
You want her to go to you're in Maryland?
Yes.
What's your big state university from Maryland? What's the prestige state university, the big one?
University of Maryland, UMD.
UMD. You want to send her there for a master's degree.
Okay.
I don't care what in. A master's degree is required to do serious knowledge work. Then what you want to figure out, what exactly does she want to do when she's done?
She wants to own her own business.
What do you want to do with your daughter? Exactly. If she wants to take it over. If not, you want to know exactly what she wants to do.
Okay.
She needs an internship. She needs to know, you're going to want to write this down. What good is, and when it's not good, how do we fix it?
Okay.
And typically how they develop that is, I'm just using Anthropic. All right. So that's the one that I know most. And just so everybody knows the revenue, the average annual revenue run rate on a monthly revenue basis, Anthropic's currently at 69 billion. OpenAI is about 25 billion. It's shot up like crazy. They were at 9 billion in December for last year. So yeah, they're growing like crazy. So what you need to do is to send her to an internship that's doing exactly what she wants to do, precisely. And she works for free for 6 or 12 months during or after a master's degree. As she's going through every task, because the job is broken to task, she needs to do a deep research report on that.
Okay.
And then she needs to actually read it. It's now up to 7,000 words. And then use that to compare what she's doing. I have done deep research paragraphs for sections of a written document to a paragraph. And sometimes one time I did it for a 6,000 word deep research report for one sentence because it mattered that much. Yeah, that's the secret. Right. Then after about 6 to 12 months, you'll have an idea of what good looks like and how it's doing. Okay. And then she can go out and get a real job.
Okay.
Now for your daughter who wants to be a dentist, that is hands on teeth.
Yep.
Okay. AI will eventually do that by the time your kids retire.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to trust a damn robot ever. I want a human. She's in a different space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. I'm with you on that one. Yeah. Then a robot will not be touching my mouth.
Yeah,
but basically what you have to do is get them their master's degree, have them do a 6 to 12 month internship if it comes to that, so they know what good looks like and how to fix it when it's not. And then, because currently, again, it's a $200 a month max plan on Anthropic for Claude. And I use Fable 5 to do the planning, the editing, everything. I go back and forth until I get exactly what I want. It sounds out a swarm of Sonic 5 agents. I do it on high thinking. So a month ago, what was me on the computer 10, 12 hours a day when I'm not on podcast, Now I set things up and I come back a few times and then I send it off to HumanEd because I'm dyslexic. I created a three sequence editing process. One is catastrophic mode. What's not there that should be? Max correction. How do I correct this? How can we enhance what's there and then a polishing? I run that through. I have Fable manage it. I used to do it manually, and then I send it off to a senior human to do a final polish. I'm at 85, 90%.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm gonna have to give.
So,
I'm gonna look into that. That's why I was writing down the website to look into it. So
yeah.
Wow.
So
this has been wonderful, Russell. Such great information.
Well, I've been on dozens of podcasts just as an AI expert. So if your parents want to know where to find me, the best thing to do is just go to dyslexiaclasses.com. That's with an S, dyslexiaclasses.com. And you can sign up for us there. And our primary issue is teaching parents to teach their kids. Our instructor, her name is Angela. She's a certified elementary school teacher in the state of Texas with a 2-year master's degree and 11 years of experience. And now she's a homeschooling mom. She's taught her dyslexic 9-year-old son, August, and her 12-year-old gen ed STEM kid, Alfred, how to do this. And she's there to answer all your questions. It had to be a mom and a certified teacher at the same time.
Wonderful. Can you send us your link and Nick will put it in the description so that
Absolutely.
the link will be there for people.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I mean, we could talk for hours about this because I just love listening to all of your knowledge. But I know we all have things to do. But thank you so much. I will link everything below and to go to your website. And if people have questions, is there a way where they can contact you on your website or email?
Yes, it's all there on our website.
Okay.
And that's the best way to
okay.
just to work through everything.
Perfect.
Thank you, Russell. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. We truly, truly appreciate you coming on and just giving us all this amazing information. Because like I said, I know several people that are dyslexic, and now you giving me all this information just really helped me understand them more and what they're going through and what they go through.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very much.
Pleasure.